Today on the Railway Room, I'm building some 009 Talyllyn Railway wagons from Inoxion Models. Hello friends and welcome back to the Railway Room. So yes, today I'm going to be building up some Talyllyn Railway wagons in 009 using the newly released kits from Inoxion Models. Now Inoxion have been around for a couple of years now, but mostly producing building kits and also small scenic items. They have however recently introduced a range of 009 wagons. They're mostly freelance, but they do look rather nice. They do also have a set of Slate wagons. And the ones that I'm going to be building up today, there's two different types of Talyllyn Railway wagons. So these come in sets of 4, and the first pack are 4 slate wagons, and the other set has 2 each of open flat wagons and incline wagons. So I've got one set of each, and I'll go through and show you the building process for the slate wagons, and then at the end I'll show you all of them as well, and then also compare them to the same wagons from different kits from other manufacturers. So these are the kits as they arrive. These are the slate ones, and if we open up you can see what we get in here. Now I have paid for these out of my own money, so I can be completely unbiased in my opinions of these. And if we open it up, so inside I've got a little bag with some NEM buckets and one little bag with wheels. They do come with the wheels, these set, and I've got a couple of packets in there. So if I just open these up, let's see what we get. So there we have wagons, and what's in the other one. And in this one we've got some 3D printed slate loads to go in the wagons. So yeah, they do come on these base plates, which is presumably helping the printing. So the first thing that we're going to need to do is cut these off. Now there does need to be a certain amount of care with these, because you can see there are a lot of the support pieces there. But we need to be careful that we don't damage the actual wagons themselves. Now the one thing that we will note here is that there should be 3 wagons that are unbraked, and one of them should have a brake on it. So we need to keep an eye out for which one is the brake. So I don't know if we can see it in here, it's at the back. We've got a brake lever on that one. So when we're getting off we need to be very careful we don't damage the brake equipment. So rather than just applying a direct pressure, I'm just going to do a gentle sawing motion. And I'm also trying to hold the base rather than the other wagons, because it would be quite easy to just push on this a bit hard and break the uprights on that as well. So I'm just going to gently continue around trying to cut these out. But as you can see, there is a heck of a lot of these. Now, to be honest, I might even be able to just lift it off. Not quite yet. Now, of course, the tricky thing is trying to get in to the other side, in between the 2 wagons. Oop. And there we go. So now you can see on there just how many of these supports there are to try and cut through. So that is a little bit awkward to get free, but it's definitely doable, and there's no damage to that. it looks quite good. So I'll just cut the other ones off, and again you can see a bit more clearly now this one. It's got the brake lever on, so I need to be extra careful with that one. So I'll just cut these off and then we'll have another look. And to be honest, I actually found getting the second one off, they're just bending the base plate. You can hear the snap in there as the supports are breaking. And I found the other one and just whittled it, and that's certainly and it's just pulled off. They're definitely the weakest points are these bits here. So this is the one with the brake. And again, that's just come off, so you can see on the underside of this we've got the brake shoes there. So if I just stuck my knife in underneath, as I did on that first one, I'd have cut these brake shoes off. So probably snapping it away might actually be the best way of getting these apart. But I'm pretty happy with these, the way they've come together. I think they're looking pretty nice. So the first thing I'll do is I will give these a quick spray in a grey primer, because they are going to be grey wagons, and then we can have a proper look. And the slate loads, I'm hoping are going to be exactly the same, because these are solid, so they're pretty thick. By far the weakest point is the ends of the supports. So if I try just... Ooh, yeah, that's how brittle the 3D is. That's just pulled off. And there we go, just pulled it away. Simples. So I'll give these a spray in the primer as well. Okay, so here it is back from being primed. Just a standard grey primer. You can see the detail on there much nicer now. I think that looks pretty good. And this is the braked one. So again, you can see all the brake detail. I think these look rather nice. I'm really pleased with them. And also these are the other two wagons in the other set. So this is the flat wagon, and this one is the incline wagon. I've already started to paint that one, but you can probably see that all of these three have exactly the same basic chassis and just a different body on the top, or in the case of the open one, no body at all. So now these Inoxion Models kits don't include any couplings, but they do include these NEM pockets, so you can fit couplings of your own choice. You can either attach directly to the bottom of the wagon, or you can use the NEM pocket. And there's a hole in the middle and a little locating lug on the bottom, so that'll just glue in there nicely, and it'll be a nice position for a standard NEM pocket. The couplings, however, that I'm going to be using is going to be these ones, which is the Pico GR105 close couplers, and these couple much closer than the standard ones. So what I have discovered here is one I've prepared earlier in true Blue Peter fashion. I found that fixing the NEM pocket as it arrives in the middle means that the couplings were too far into the middle and they were catching on the edges and they weren't working. So I've actually had to cut these in half and then glue them in with a bit of a gap in, so that the edge of the pocket is level with the edge of the wagon, and I've had to do that with these ones as well. and with doing that they fit in quite nicely. I'll show the couplings in more detail once we get around to them. But before we get on to adding the couplings, the first thing I want to do is to just quickly paint these up. So I'm just going to refer back to some pictures of the prototypes, and I can see they're largely in grey with black detailing. And one that I've started painting up already, so you can just see. So what I will actually wind up doing with these is I will just leave them in the grey primer and then just brush paint on as delicately as I can these black detail parts with a matte black. So I'm just using the really fine paintbrush and the smallest amount of paint that I can get away with on it. Let's just gently attempt something roughly like that, and then I just go around. So, something kind of like that, and now I just need to come back with my other grey and tidy up all the overspill. So essentially this is now just a rather painstaking if laborious task of alternating black and grey paints, touching up all the little bits that I'm not quite happy with, until I reach a point where, to be honest, the ultimate aim is perfection. But frankly what I'm really looking for is something that I don't hate, that I can look at and go, yeah, I'm happy with that. So I just need to tidy up the sides of these axle boxes, and I haven't done the brake gear either, so I'll just swap over back to the black. Right, so I've got a basic paint job on that I don't hate, it's not too bad, so I'm just going to hearty mouth moment, give it a bit of a quick black wash. So I'll just do one side at a time. So hopefully it looks a little bit more lightly weathered. Don't want anything too extreme. But if we just compare it to the previous and unweathered one, it's subtle, but it just makes a little bit of a difference. So for the slate loads, I'm just going to lightly dry brush across the tops a couple of different shades of grey. So I've got my NEM pockets in place and painted up. Before I put the couplings in, I guess the next thing I'll just put the wheel sets in. So there is little holes in there for them to go into, and they should just drop in. And then a little bit of pressure on the outside. Maybe need to heat this up just to get it nicely, and then that should just stick in just like that. I do find that they can be a bit tricky. They do have a tendency to drop out. So if you look from this angle, you can see they do seem to spread out very slightly. It is just a fraction of a millimetre that's causing the wheels to drop out. And to be honest, this is not the only kit that I've had this issue with the 3D printed kit. So it's not something that I would say to put you off buying the models, this kit, but it is something to be aware of. I've certainly had it with other manufacturers as well. So probably the best thing to do is to try and get the wheel sets into position, and then just gently apply pressure on the outside, and maybe see if you can warm it up as well. That might help. What I actually wound up doing on one of the other ones is just put a little filler material around the outside, and just a little plastic putty, just to build the inside of the axle box up a bit. That one seems to be staying in okay now. Spoke too soon. Very carefully and very gently apply a little of this around the outside of the axle box. Something like that on both sides. And obviously you can see at the moment it's sticking up, but that's fine. I can just smooth that off. Way too much. And that should just help keep the wheels in position. So I'll just wait for this to dry and then quickly paint it over in black. So now those have dried, and I've just painted over them. Hopefully these wheels slide in from the bottom. Perfect. And the other set. There we go, good to go. Not a problem. And so the couplings, I'm using these GR105 Pico close couplers. And in the pack, so you get 4 of these in a packet, and each one you've got 3 hooks and 3 hoops, so you just need to put one of these in each end. Now this wagon I'm actually going to put at the end of the rake, so I'm going to put one of these in one end, and then I'm going to have a normal coupling on the other end for connecting to the loco or possibly brake van. So to attach these, you can literally just bend and twist, and they come straight off. And hopefully, if the NEM pockets on this are made well, that should just slide in with a little click, just like that. And so then I'll get in a normal coupling with an NEM on that end, and we'll be good to go. And we can see here the other wagons that I've already coupled. They are, if I just drop the slate loads out, you can see they're pretty much designed to be coupled together permanently. So they are quite tricky to push in, but they don't come apart too easily. But you can see how close together there you go. So this one again, I've got a normal coupling on the front, so then I'll have all my wagons, and this one will go on the other end. There's more than just these four, but that will be on the other end with a normal coupling on this end. The only thing to watch out for is that you may well have more than one with a brake, so you just need to make sure that you put the brakes all along the same side. So obviously with the hook at one end and the hoop at the other end, these only go one way round, so you just need to make sure that the hooks and the hoops are the right way around on the brick wagons. And there we are, so you just pop these slate loads in, and you can see they are really starting to look the part. So they don't get around super tight corners, that's as tight as that will go. And so this is, that's a 12-inch track setter there, so you can see it's tighter than that. So it's probably around about maybe about 10 inches. You might struggle with a 9-inch curve with these couplings. You might need to put the NEM bucket a bit further to the edge, but for my layout I think that should be really good. We'll pop them down on the track and have a look at them in action. So the plan at this point in the video was I was just going to compare the Inoxion Models kits with kits that I've built previously of the same wagons from other manufacturers, Mike's Models, Dundas and Brooks 3D. And I had the video edited, ready to upload, and then I discovered Minibuilds had released their version of the same two-plank wagons. So I decided I might as well order myself a set of those as well, just to add to the comparison. So now let's have a look at the Minibuilds wagons, see what you get in the kit, and make some of those up. So these are the Minibuilds versions of these wagons as they arrive. I do like the presentation here with the top is nicely packaged, and they come in a pack of 3, and got the wheels already fixed in. So if we have a little look, there's one, and the slate load comes out. It is hollow, so it's not too much extra weight in there, and you could potentially glue some magnets inside just to make it easier to get those in and out. And you also get in the packet, if I can get it out, a brake gear, so you can add brake gears to as many or as few of the wagons as you like. And what I'm assuming that seems to be a little sticker. Not really sure why, but that's nice. So yeah, I'm not going to go through the full build process of these because it is fundamentally the same as with the Inoxion models, but I'll just get these painted up and then we'll do a comparison with all of the other versions of these wagons that I've got. So now this is the Minibuilds wagon. I took the wheels out to spray paint it. Now 2 of the wagons, the wheels have popped back in with no issue. However, this one, it's just stopping short. It's as if it's exactly the same problem that the Inoxion Models ones had, where these axle boxes have sprayed outwards. So it's definitely not an issue that's exclusive to the Inoxion kits. I think it is a byproduct of the nature of the 3D printing. What they do recommend is just putting the wagon on a radiator just to soften up the plastic a little bit so you can then bend it back into position. So that's what I'm going to try and do next. So whilst I've got this here, I will just quickly show you the if I put the close couplers into the NEM pockets on this Minibuilds wagon. They're very close to the body, and because of the buffers, they're not going to be able to couple together, because the NEM pockets are an integral part of the 3D print. They're just where they are, and they are in quite a bit, so they're in position for a typical coupling, so they're not compatible with these Pico short couplings, unfortunately. So what I'm going to be using in these, I've just made up some of these Greenwich couplings with the NEM pockets, so hopefully they will slip into position. So only one of these wagons is going to have the loop on both ends, so that'll be the wagon at the end of the rake. The ones in between, there'll just be one loop on one side and then just a hook on the other side. That'll stop the loops from interfering with each other. So I've just left this on the radiator for 10 minutes and then pushed the axle boxes closer together very gently. Don't want to push too hard because they will snap off relatively easily. And let's just see. There we go. That seems to have done the trick. Okay, so here we have 5 little Slate wagons all in a row, and all from different manufacturers. Now, can you tell which one is which? So, let me help you. This one on the front is Brooks 3D. This one is the Minibuilds. The one in the middle is Mike's Models. This one is Inoxion, and the one at the back is the Dundas. Let's go through one at a time and have a look at all of these kits and these wagons. So this one is the oldest. It's Mike's Models kit. I believe this was introduced in the 70s, and it is from white metal, so it's quite a bit heavier than all of the other ones, and it's also a lot cruder. Obviously this would have been a great kit for the time. It must have been quite revelatory, I would say, when there's very little available in kit form. Most stuff would have to be scratch built. It is very much of its time. It is quite crude. The plank in the pieces are very thick. It's quite a bit narrower. The dimensions aren't really correct to the prototype. It is lacking in detail. So it's nice to have this one in the collection. It's part of the history of the scale. But it's not really one that's going to get used very much. In fact, I'm kind of tempted, because it's so heavy, to bash it about a bit and leave it in the bottom of a ravine as a damaged wagon that's not been able to retrieve, because I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get much use out of that as an actual running stock. Next newest one. So this one is the Dundas Models kit. It was originally produced by Rodney Stenning. The Dundas took it over. So this kit is injection moulded plastic, which means it comes on a fret and you have to cut them off and then glue or polycement all of the pieces together. So it is a bit more work than the 3D printed kits for sure, but that is also quite satisfying to do. And ignoring the fact that the Mike's Models kit is quite expensive because they're out of production and very difficult to get hold of, this is the most expensive of the 4 available kits by quite some distance. It's the only one that has the correct spoked wheels. All the 3D printed ones have cheaper disc wheels supplied with them. But there's a good amount of detail. It's certainly very satisfying and rewarding to build it together. So it's definitely a good and worthwhile kit. So next up we've got one of the Brooks 3D kits. And as with the other 3D printed, there is a very slight trace of a bowing in it. It comes with disc wheels fitted as standard. This one also comes with Brooks 3D's own proprietary coupling system, which are nice and quite close coupling. The loop on the one end will connect to loco couplings quite nicely. However, if you're using it in a train formation with other manufacturers' kits, you may have to swap out the couplings in order to get them to be compatible. So the loop on this one does ride a little bit higher than the loop on the Pico close couplings that I use on the other kits. But these are pretty good value, and it includes the slate load and the couplings as standard. Now the ones that I've been building up for you today is this one. This is the Inoxion Models kit. Again, the detail is very good in this. Now these ones don't include the slate loads as standard, so that's great if you don't want loaded wagons. For example, on a preserved line they might only run empties, but they do provide their own slate loads that you can buy separately if you want to. They include the wheels, but they don't include couplings, but that does give you the flexibility of choosing the couplings that you like. I've said it before, but these separately fitted NEM pockets allows you to put them into position exactly where you would like, depending on what type of couplings you use. Like this wagon, I've got a close coupler on one end and a regular coupler on the other end, because that will be at the front of the rake next to the loco. So that's a good amount of flexibility, and I think there's a really nice amount of detail on that. I'm very pleased with it. And this one is the Minibuilds. So again, it's a nicely detailed model. Now both the Brooks kits and the Minibuild kits, which you can see here, have a lot in common, because they do both include, I think they're the same wheel sets, metal wheels with discs, and they both have the NEM pockets as part of the main integral print. However, one thing you can notice is the Minibuilds, the NEM pocket is situated slightly further inside, which prevents the use of close couplers, whereas the Brooks kit includes the pockets right at the end, so you can use close couplers, and his own proprietary couplings are quite close coupling. So there's a bit less flexibility with the Minibuilds coupling pockets there. It's worth noting that they do offer the kits without the NEM pockets, but then you've got to work out how you're fixing your couplers. You might need to wind up paying for separate pockets to glue into position if you want to use the Pico close couplers that I've used. So that is a little bit of inflexibility when it comes to the Minibuilds. So if you put the five together, you can see there's really very little to pick between them, apart from obviously the Mike's Models one, which is a lot cruder, but they're very difficult to get hold of anyway. So I've got here three different types of slate loads. The one on the end, this is the Inoxion Models ones, and there's quite a bit of variation in the size of the slates in this one. This one in the middle is the Minibuilds, and this one has very uniform slate, it's very neat and tidy. The one on the end is the Brooks 3D slate load, and that's kind of somewhere in between the two. So now I think it'll be interesting to compare whether these slate loads fit into the different wagons. Now, none of them will fit into the Mike's Models kit, because that is quite a bit too narrow. So the Inoxion one here, and let's try it in the Dundas. Nope, it's not going to fit. It's obviously going to fit in the Inoxion one, and in this one is the Minibuilds. No, it's not fitting in there. And on the end, Brooks. No, it won't fit in the Brooks one either. This one is then the Minibuilds. So if we try the Minibuilds, yeah, that just about goes into the Dundas one. It fits in the Inoxion model, and there's quite a bit of loose spare space in that one, and it just about squeezes into the Brooks 3D wagon, though it's going to be a bit of effort to get it out. And so the Brooks 3D slate load obviously goes in the Brooks wagon with no issues. Into the Minibuilds. It's not quite fitting in the Minibuilds one. goes into the Inoxion one, and there's still quite a bit of spare space. It rattles around in there quite a bit, and it doesn't quite fit into the Dundas one. Now, to be fair, this one is an injection moulded kit, and I've had to put all the pieces together, so it's possible that this end piece is perhaps a little bit tight compared to where it should be, and that might be the reason why some of these slate loads aren't quite fitting. And so these ones here are the other four of the Inoxion kits, the flat wagons and the incline wagons. And I'm really pleased with the way they have come out, to be honest. I think they're quite nicely detailed kits. Obviously, maybe the painting quality is not as good as it could be, but that's down to me, not down to the kit. I think it does look better at a normal viewing distance. The camera gets in very close. It can be quite unkind, but yeah, I'm really pleased with these wagons. Okay, so I've got my trio of 2'3" locos with freight on mixed stock there. So at the back, behind the chorus loco, first we've got the 3 Minibuilds, and you can see with the Greenwich couplings between them, they're quite a lot further apart than these ones, the Inoxion with the Pico couplers. And then there's the mics, one of the Brooks 3D and the Dundas before the Dundas Rodney Stenning chorus brake van. And then behind Dolgoch you've got the 6 Inoxion Models wagons with the brake van. I'm not sure of the origin of the kit for that one. It's either a Mike's Models or a Meridian. And then Talyllyn on the front with Meridian Models brown Marshall coach, the 2 Inoxion flats, an Inoxion incline wagon, a pair of Dundas Rodney Stenning kits, and then the second Inoxion, and some more Stenning kits at the end, finishing with the gunpowder van. So ultimately then the big question is, which is the best one to go for? The Dundas one I would say is probably the most accurate, particularly having the spoked wheels, but it is also the most expensive, and it's the trickiest to put together because it's an injection moulded kit. You've got to actually build it, whereas the other 3 3D printed kits you're doing a little more than painting them. Between the 3 3D printed kits there's very little to choose between them. The prices are very similar when it comes out. The Inoxion Models comes as packs of 4 and include wheels but not couplings. The Brooks come in packs of 3 and are slightly more expensive but do include both the wheels and couplings and slate loads. The Minibuilds, you can have them individually, or I got a pack of 3. They do include wheels, but they don't include the couplings, and they do include slate loads. So once you factor all the different things in, needing to buy separate couplings, separate slate loads for the Inoxion ones, the prices do work out pretty similar. I will, however, point out that Scale 3D, the website that stocks the Inoxion kits, they do quite often have special offers running, so I got my kits at a 20% discount, which made them the cheapest price option of the 5. Probably the biggest factor is if you're going to order something else at the same time and save up on postage. The Minibuilds doesn't have a huge selection available through their eBay account at the moment. But they do have some other good Talyllyn stuff. In fact, I'm quite irritated that they managed to release their Talyllyn themed rubbish bins about a week after I ordered some from somewhere else without the Welsh language. Brooks 3D, obviously I've already got his Glyn Valley Tramway kit, which is superb, and he's got plenty of other great rolling stock kits available, which I'm sure are going to be to the same high standards. I will almost certainly be getting some more of his kits in the future for future videos. Inoxion have got a growing range of 009 stock, and again there's going to be another one of their kits that I'm going to be featuring in a future video. But in addition, they sell through Scale 3D, so you've got also all the buildings, loads and loads of 3D printed figures, animals, various other scenic items, furniture, loads and loads of stuff. There's a really wide selection of stuff. But if you're in the market for some of these Talyllyn Slate wagons, I can really recommend any of these 3D printed ones, or the Dundas. Obviously the Mike's models not so much, being quite crude by comparison, and also difficult to get hold of nowadays, or long out of production. But yeah, I'm very, very pleased with them. I would quite happily buy more of any of these, and I will certainly be buying more things from all of these kit manufacturers. They're all top notch. So there we have it. That's my quick little look at the Talyllyn Railway 2 blank slate wagons in 009. I hope you've enjoyed the video, maybe find it interesting or useful. If so, you know, the usual comment, like, subscribe and all of that bananas. All that remains for me to say is thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I'll look forward to seeing you, or you seeing me, next time. Thank you.